It's time to wake up, America. Good morning. It's time to rise in freedom. Austin Peterson here. Happy Friday. Thanks for watching the Wake Up America show. It's time to rock and roll. First up, Hurricane Ian continues to wreak a path of destruction across the southeastern United States. We'll keep an eye on it for you with updates. And if you're in the eye of the storm or in the path of it, please send us a text. Let us know how you are. 573-319-1586. Also, how to spot a rhino, the most used pejorative for fake Republicans, as me and Camellia Peterson wondering just what the hell a rhino really is. Camellia joins me in studio for the entire show today. And Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmidt is suing the Biden administration over the student loan debt forgiveness plan, but there's a nasty surprise for those who thought they were going to get their loans paid that they can lay at the feet of Biden himself. We'll discuss. And Ben Shapiro takes aim at Lizzo for playing President James Madison's crystal flute. Is it cultural degradation? Clutch your pearls, or just a harmless bit of fun. And finally, Jordan Peterson is called King of the Incels by Olivia Wilde. We'll talk about all that and more on today's episode of the Wake Up America Show with Austin Peterson at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Good morning. How are we doing, everybody? What's going on, Camellia? Nice to see you.
Hey, good to be here.
Here's your friend. What you got over there? What you hiding over there?
This is my friend Rhino.
This is your friend Rhino. You're supposed to say, "Oh, I don't know, just a smoothie." Well, welcome, like the meme.
You know,
Our buddy, our little Rhino here. Now, who is this right here? If we could say King of the Rhinos, and we're going to talk about Jordan Peterson later being King of the Incels. If you could call anyone, if you could say anybody on the national scene, King of the Rhinos, Republican name only. I want you to name names. Let's hear it.
name names. Oh my gosh, who is it that they want to get rid of? They want everybody to get rid of when they go to Congress.
Mitch McConnell?
He's like the top rhino.
King of the Rhinos. How about you? Who's King of the Rhinos in your mind? Send us a text at 573-319-1586.
We're all rhinos.
We're all rhinos today. Have you been following much of the coverage of Hurricane Ian as it's been going out across the country?
I have been watching the tweets and the scenes go by, and that's crazy. It's wild stuff.
Yeah, the photographs are pretty crazy. Hurricane Ian it grew into a monster of a storm in just 2 days. They've, had warm water and the right weather conditions for it that turned it into a Category 4 hurricane. They had sustained winds of 155 miles an hour, but it was just shy of like the most powerful Category 5 level. It hit Cuba as a tropical storm, and then it made landfall in Florida. And I had read that Cuba's like their entire electrical grid had gone down. I'm not sure what's going on there, but Ian now looks to be headed towards the Carolinas, and our buddy Tony Allegra actually fled to South Carolina in order to try and avoid it.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, one of our live stream buddies and supporters of the show, Tony Allegra, went to South Carolina. We're hope that he's not in the path of the storm. Wouldn't that be, a bit of irony there that you go
That would be terrible.
Yeah, no kidding. But it gathered strength, and it's been wreaking a path of devastation. Some of the photographs and videos that we've been seeing, like boats on the top of houses and things like that, is just wild.
Right, and houses completely washed away. It's just
Yeah, and what was it you had brought up there? To how one guest had said on the show yesterday, just that this is kind of what you get when you live in Florida, right?
right, kind of the accepted risk when you move to that region, that's a possibility.
Yeah. Again, if you have anyone that's down there who's affected and they want to call into the show today, we can take calls. You can call the program at 573-319-1586. You can also, again, send us a text at 573-319-1586. We got our first Rhino submission here. Somebody texted in and told us, so they said John Cornyn is there a Rhino. How about Dan Crenshaw? That's going to be mine right there. Dan Crenshaw, but Patches McGee. What do they call him? Patches McCain.
Oh gosh.
Patches McCain.
Well, and in Missouri, people would probably say, or some people would probably say Roy Blunt.
Oh yeah, they would do that. Not Scott Fawn though. Scott Fawn, God bless Scott Fawn's soul for giving us this space to use. But he would say that Roy Blunt is the most conservative of conservative, most Republican of Republicans, and definitely not a rhino. But Scott Vaughn himself, not a rhino, not a rhino.
No, not at all.
So who who is a rhino? Send us a text 573-319-1586. We'd love to hear from you, your thoughts on this one. Okay, so maybe we should start off with, I guess, the definition. What is a rhino, would you say? How would you define that, Camellia?
Well, I mean, the acronym is Republican in name
Mhm.
only. I've been called a rhino, but I don't really identify with any party, so it doesn't really
So you
count.
are a rhino. Look at her evil laugh. I mean, I get called a rhino too, but isn't there? We've discussed this, right? There's kind of like a good rhino and a bad rhino, right?
Sure. Well, I mean, it basically anymore it means whatever. If I don't like you, you're a rhino. If you don't agree with me on something, you're a rhino. Although, people who I think when it started out, it was basically people who were not lining up with the Republican platform.
Right, and there are people there that are like platform fascists. I mean, I don't want to call them. I mean, platform authoritarians. That word's overused. But platform authoritarians are like, oh, you have to adhere to the Republican Party platform and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, no, you don't. No, you don't. Like you get these things written by committee. It's like these people will talk a big game about bureaucracy and all this kind of stuff, and then they'll be like, "Oh, but you have to obey this bureaucracy." You know what I mean? And it's kind of like there's no like you get elected not to represent the will of a party. You get elected to represent the will of the people in your district.
Right.
You
And
know
whatever happened to the 80-20 rule?
what is that?
Well, I mean, if you can get a lot done if somebody agrees with you 80% of the time. Nobody is ever going to agree 100% of the time. I mean, Missouri has an overwhelmingly red Republican legislature, and there's lots of things that we don't get done because they don't agree on hardly anything.
Yep, no kidding. Yeah, you can text the show this morning at 573-319-1586. Tolly Owens over on the Facebook live stream says, "Good morning, AP, Camellia, Sir Reginald Rooster." Is that the name for a
Oh,
rooster? Is that
yes, I like it. Reggie,
and and
Reggie the
the
rooster.
new Republican Party mascot this morning. Uh, Chris Morrill says, "Read the Goldberg column, FFS, for freak's sake. Rhino used to mean liberal, squishy Republican. Now it just means anti-Trumpers or moderates." That's what
Yeah,
Goldberg said. But
sure.
Goldberg really went off of a cliff, though, didn't he? I would call him a rhino these days.
Yeah,
He Trump deranged. Trump ruined these people, and you know what? Some of them deserved it. Some of them really deserved a good kick in the pants. Jonah Goldberg had been insufferable for years, and the thing about like those types in the National Review, a lot of these National Review Republicans and types and stuff like that, is they love to like don the mantle of classical liberal, but they're really just neocons in disguise, and that is not a veiled reference to their Semitism, right? That is a direct accusation at their foreign policy, which is decidedly hawkish and more
sure.
interventionist than a true classical liberal position might be, right? But a Republican in name only, I mean, like Chris Morrill has correctly identified, it just the definition changes, with who's in charge. If you're not with the ruling faction, then you're a rhino, right?
Right. And I've enjoyed a lot of Jonah Goldberg's writing and Williamson, what's his first name? Anyway, Kevin D. Williamson. But you're right. When the COVID stuff hit, boy, flipped people on their heads, and Trump, and
Trump just ruined these people.
it just, I don't know. And it went from where there was, reasonable things that we could agree on most of the time to like hardly anything.
Listen, I mean, I disagreed with Trump enough in 2016 to run for president, to try for a chance to run against him, right? So I mean, like, it's not like I'm not a Trumper in the sense that
Sure.
people are Trumpers, right? But it didn't. I didn't get deranged. You know what I mean? I didn't like
Hmm.
sacrifice all my principles. I didn't join the Lincoln Project and go
Oh,
on these
Lord.
weird boy touching schemes and all this kind of stuff because there were enough things that Trump did when he was president that were like Trump did libertarian things for the very first time since Ronald Reagan did some very minuscule libertarian things, and Trump did more libertarian things than Reagan did, and
Yeah.
bigger libertarian things than Reagan did. I mean, Reagan was like drug warrior to the extreme, And not that Donald Trump was much better on that issue, but I mean, when it came to spending and regulations and all that stuff, like Trump was a maniac in cutting regulations. And there were a lot of things he did that were anti-libertarian. Sure, a lot of things I disagreed with, but I mean, it's like you're in the desert, you're dying for a drink of water. Somebody comes and gives you a sip, and you're like, "Ooh, give me a whole gallon. I need it, Daddy." I don't know. It's like
I used to say that Trump and I had not that kind of relationship.
No.
Complicated relationship, some days. Some days I wanted to, hug him, and other days I wanted to kick him to the curb. But oh my gosh. Yeah. No, I think that Trump was good on things that he could relate to, the business end of things when it comes to regulation and things like that, he could relate to. And I also think a lot of the things that he did were probably because he had some good people around him and not always people of his choosing, because he didn't always make good choices when it came to that. But
and even a lot of his own people said that.
Right.
But he also, I mean, here's the thing. If it really is the fall of Rome, like many of his supporters, the last days of the American Empire as it is, the thing that I appreciated is that he was funny. Right.
Yes.
Because if we're going to go down, I'd like to not play Nearer My God to Thee. I would rather hear things like this.
Look at my African American over here. Look at him.
Donald Trump, if you can hear us, please, Donald Trump, please save me. Please save me, Donald Trump, please.
There's TDS. There's also TWS.
Wait. What's TWS?
Please get these people away from
Trump worship system?
Worshipful side.
But wasn't it nice? I mean, for just a moment, wasn't it nice to hear things like this for once?
From now on, it's going to be America first, okay? America first.
Wasn't that nice? Because I'm for America first. Aren't you for America first? I mean, the thing was that libertarians and like America First types and stuff like that, we were the fringe of the party until then the Tea Party came, and then all of a sudden it was like, Tea Party and libertarians, and we were ascended and all that kind of stuff. And then, unfortunately the Tea Party got washed out, and there was a lot of corruption and stuff, and there were a lot of like neocons. We called them teocons. Right. They were just, the same people who were just trying to like claim the mantle of the Tea Party and stuff. But, and now, it's much more, the Republican Party, the populism that has swept it up has brought with it a lot of economic illiteracy. Yes. But a lot of that anti-elitism, I totally identify with. Right. A lot of that anti-elitism I absolutely identify with, which is like in the next segment after this commercial break. I'm looking forward to talking about this, 1, quiet quitting, but 2, quiet getting fired. And this really smarmy article from the Wall Street Journal that I read yesterday that just makes me want to throw over the table. All right, I got to run. More Camellia Peterson, more Austin Peterson when we get back on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupamericashow.com.
It's morning again in America. Our country is prouder and stronger and better.
I like shooting things, but whenever I can't shoot something, I like to cut things. My life isn't all about shooting and stabbing and cutting, though. Sometimes I have to do actual work, but when I work, I still like to have fun. And there's nothing less fun than trying to cut with a crappy knife. Thankfully, from the ancient sect of Christian knights, who also loved cutting and stabbing, comes a new implement that has received my personal blessing, the Templar knife. Like the ancient sword of Excalibur, you don't choose a Templar knife, it chooses you. You just decide what kind you want on the website first, however, and then order it online, and then it chooses you. The Templar knife comes in a variety of shapes. As a man of culture and taste, I have decided I will never use a terrible knife again. And thanks to the inspiration provided by this excellent product, I have decided to launch a new crusade against anyone using less than superior knives. Join me, brothers and sisters, by visiting uppercuttactical.com/pages/Templar-knives. That's a lot of slashes. For that, you'll need a Templar knife. For 10% off, use code AP for Liberty and join me in a quest for glory, for liberty, for Christendom, for the Templar knife. Get yours today.
Fire.
Your printing company stinks. They charge you too much money and they don't love America enough. We've got the solution. Patriot Printing USA. Whether you're running for office, saving souls, or just need business cards that will get you the new job you've been looking for, Patriot Printing USA has got you covered with the best prices around. Palm cards, brochures, bumper stickers, door hangers, you name it, we've got it. PatriotPrintingUSA.com. That's PatriotPrintingUSA.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
Average Americans are turning into conspiracy theorists at an unprecedented rate. Flip City Magazine was created for new converts to aid in their in-depth research along the path of absolute truth. We offer the hardest-hitting news and opinion delivered uncensored in print directly to your door. Display proudly on your coffee table or hide discreetly under your mattress. Flip City is the magazine they don't want you to see, much less read. Subscribe to Flip City Magazine today at flipcitymag.com.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
It is better to settle these matters in the courts than on the streets, and new laws are needed at every level. But law alone cannot make men see right.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. It's 7:21. You're watching the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson. Happy Friday. We are joined in studio this morning by the lovely Camellia Peterson. Good morning. Glad to have you here.
It's good to be here.
Yeah, we got some really cool text messages this morning. Our buddy Tony Allegra seems to be doing okay. He texted us at 573-319-1586. He said, "Hey, AP, I'm on the west side of SC. Likely going to get rain, but probably safe from the wind." Another listener texted in, said, "I think 75% of elected Republicans who are distinctly more fiscally liberal than Bill Clinton was in office qualify as RINOs."
Yeah. Fair point.
Yes. Another listener texted in, said, "If you're fiscally conservative but socially liberal, people call you a RINO because they confuse conservative and Republican." Not a bad text, Tim.
Yep.
Another listener texted in, said, "Steve Dace said that RINO is a bad term because the majority of the GOP are truly conservative in both social issues and economic scrutiny." And he also helped me with the pronunciation, saying Dace. Steve Dace.
I've never really known exactly how to pronounce his name.
Do you know who he is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever listened to him or what he's all about?
Not in a long time.
Yeah. I did an interview when I ran for president with Dace because they were not big Trump fans either initially. So
Right.
when it looked like Trump was going to win and the libertarians were still fighting it out for the presidential nomination, they were kind of like desperate because they were looking for a candidate, and they heard that I was defending the freedom of Christians to not be forced to bake a wedding cake for a gay couple if they disagreed with them. But they were really skeptical of me because they heard, my other positions when it came to my own personal views on it, which are decidedly more liberal than social conservatives, right? I defend the freedom of people that I disagree with. Wow, isn't that amazing? Well, the thing is that most people think if you're agreeing with them, they think, or if you're defending their freedom, they think that you agree with them. Right.
Sure. Yeah.
It's kind of like an understanding because like most people only defend the freedom to agree with them. You're only free to agree with me. You know what I mean? That's what that's how most people are.
Pretty much.
Well, anyways, I didn't know anything about the Steve days. I just was like, I was getting all these big interviews all of a sudden because they were, all the conservatives were looking for somebody who was like, a pro-life libertarian. They were like, holy crap. And for like a 4-week period, my life was like, crazy. But I remember I went on his show and then out of the blue, and I kid you not, okay, he goes, so why do you support sodomy? And I know. I was like, what the hell? I remember I was shocked. I was in a hotel room. I remember like exactly where I was and what I was looking at because my jaw just dropped because I was like, support sodomy. And he goes, yes, you support anal sex. And I go, what in the hell? Because I thought he was a Christian conservative. Well, apparently he is. But I mean, I was like, mostly you don't usually have a Christian. Typically, conservatives don't, accuse you of supporting anal sex because it just came out of the blue, and I was just like, "What the hell are you talking about?" I was like, "Oh," and then I really realized that it was like, that I don't, I don't think homosexuals should be run over by a straight steam tractor and buried underneath the,
right.
Burned in some occult ritual or something like that. So it was like, they agreed with, they were like, and I remember listening to them talking about me afterwards and stuff like that. They're like, because they were desperate because they did not want Trump and all that kind of stuff. They're like, well, we don't like his views on, society and, his liberal views on, on social values and stuff, but at least he wouldn't force us to bake the cake and blah, 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 blah. I'm just like, yeah, I mean, because sometimes you got to take what you can get there, but they decided, the LP decided to go with Gary Johnson.
Well,
the rest is history. And then they all had to bake the cake. And now it's the conservative Christians in the Republican Party who want to force everybody else to bake the cake. Social media, right? Bake the cake. Put my bullshit meme on Facebook by law. The law says you have to post my Vaxxer meme. Or whatever. The government should come in and make it so that I can post my boomer meme.
Authoritarianism by any other name is still authoritarianism.
Oh, what do you got to say? Send us a text, 573-319-1586. Somebody just texted in. You must have seen this story fly by your timeline. I didn't read it yesterday, so I don't know if it's BS or not. First openly trans U.S. Army officer and wife arrested in plot to give medical records to Russia. Did you see this?
Saw that go by. Really, mostly just.
He's got some nice earrings.
Our friend Heather Coyle, she was like, I do not like those earrings.
I thought they were nice. I thought they were actually kind of nice. But arrested in plot to give medical records to Russia. That's not good. That's not good. That's bad. That's bad. RINO. Gosh. Call RINO. You can text the show this morning at 573-319-1586. All right, let's head to the story here. The Wall Street Journal, it talks about, the story is, if your quiet quitting is going well, you might be getting quiet fired. So the subtitle is Workers Who Coast Risk of Being Written Off and Eventually Laid Off by Bosses with Productivity Paranoia. And they're talking about like basically what companies are doing to try and sideline workers who they think are just putting in the absolute minimum that they need, in order to not get fired, and how like they start giving you fewer projects and all that kind of stuff. And then, eventually you're going to get laid off. But I mean, the way that this article reads, it just seems to me, and listen, I like the Wall Street Journal, and I've got some traces of elitism in me. You don't live in, big cities for 11 years and not come away with a little bit of a, what's the word? Peck sniffery?
Oh.
What is that? What is it? Let me make sure.
Yeah.
Peck sniff. Make sure I got my word. Peck sniffery. Peck sniff. Definition is peck sniffery, hypocritical or sanctimonious. Yes. Peck sniffery.
Peck sniffian views.
I'm fairly certain that's like a $15 word. Can I get $15 here? Thank you very much. Yes, you can text the show 573-319-1586. But like on that sort of that anti-elitism, like bias, that strain of anti-elitism that I have in me, are a lot of these corporations that do not give a crap about you. They do not care about you. Have you ever worked for like a big company at all, Camellia? Been in like a corporate environment kind of a thing?
I mean, really, the biggest company I ever worked for was Walmart.
Okay, so I mean, you never had like you never had kind of like a cubicle-ish environment or anything like that.
Nope.
Now, what about you, the listener? Have you ever been in like one of those kind of like corporate like rat race like situations and stuff? Because you know, like they grind you down. And listen, like white collar work is white collar work. You're not out there, welding together like hulls of ships and things like that. So I mean, it's just kind of a different, yeah, you're not suffering the way that like workers are suffering who like live in factories and put together iPhones. But I mean, it's a different kind of suffering. It's a mental anguish, and like
Sure.
there's a demoralization there, and you're still tired at the end of the day, like like anybody else is tired at the end of the day. So these companies who are there really is now this kind of like corporate backlash to the quiet quitting, and a lot of frustration from companies who can't find people to hire. They can't find workers to hire because they were used to for so long taking advantage of these workers, never giving them pay raises, using them for their talents and stuff. And that's fine. They're there to work and do their job. But I mean, like, you can only go so far with the above and beyond mentality without, an above and beyond paycheck. And I identify with the quiet quitters who are like, listen, you want above and beyond, like, then you need to start talking about, compensating from above and beyond.
Well, and I think it's even more than just how much you're getting paid. I think it's feeling like your work and your efforts are valued.
Mhm.
There's a lot to be said for feeling like, what you're contributing to a company is valuable
Mhm.
and appreciated. One of the things I noticed in that article that they were talking about is interesting is they were talking about that they were keeping on some of these people who were coasting kind of as a layer of fat to, just in case when times get hard, they've got some easy places to cut.
Right. Let's see. Managers at all levels should form lists of employees, writes the Wall Street Journal, to let go if better or hardworking talent becomes available, says Jay McDonald. He's an executive coach, sits on the board of several Atlantic area companies. So, I mean, that right there ought to just tell you, the quiet quitters, if they're okay with, being shown the door or something like that, like, your bosses are sitting there making a list of people, of people that they're going to replace you with anyway. So, I mean, but we better go above and beyond just so you can keep the job. I mean, at what point is it supposed to become some kind of a mutual value? Like I'm not trying to sound like a commie here or anything, but I mean, the fact is that a lot of, wait. Workers of the world, unite. Yeah, it's like I'm not against unionization, right? People have the right to voluntarily form unions. I'm against public sector unions because the public, the public doesn't get a right to vote in this, but I'm absolutely in favor of unionization if you want to, collectivize voluntarily in order to push for better working conditions, higher pay, or what have you. Yeah, I'm in favor of that. I'm just opposed to the kind of unionization that we have, that where they come in and they demand collective bargaining.
Forced. Yeah.
It's forced collectivization, and they force you to, I'm for right to work, right? And I know that's not popular in Missouri, but that's a liberty position there.
Mhm.
And but the fact is that if I think unions do have their role, they do have their place in society, and they do play an important role. It's just like anything else. It just what collectivization is that eventually they start to look at the government power and say, well, we'd rather have that power and use that power. I've gone way too far in this segment, Camellia. I've got to go to a commercial break. Okay, we're gonna go, and when we get back, we're gonna play the clip of Ben Shapiro and his moral outrage, the degradation of society.
How dare
How dare... Wait, yes, I got just the thing for that.
How dare you?
There it is. We'll be back on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
American conservatism is distinct
like America is distinct from the United Kingdom. American conservatism's roots comes out of the Wild West, out of pioneerism. The difference between American conservatives and European conservatives is that Americans are cowboys. We are that God, guns, gold, and girls. It's wild here. And we should stay that way. We shouldn't allow a European version of conservatism to come and infect us here. We like it wide open spaces here, deep in the heart of Texas and all that.
Austin's wife. I want to thank you all for watching the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson. This show has been a huge venture for our family, so we would love it if you could join us.
I believe in liberty, and I believe in Austin's ability to spread the ideas of liberty. Do you?
I want to ask you today to join Peterson's Patriots with a pledge of $17.76 a month. Help us to stay cancel-proof so we can spread the message of limited government across the country. I joined Peterson's Patriots myself, just in a little different way. Visit wakeupamericashow.com/support and make your pledge today.
Average Americans are turning into conspiracy theorists at an unprecedented rate. Flip City Magazine was created for new converts to aid in their in-depth research along the path of absolute truth. We offer the hardest-hitting news and opinion, delivered uncensored in print directly to your door. Display proudly on your coffee table, or hide discreetly under your mattress. Flip City is the magazine they don't want you to see, much less read. Subscribe to Flip City Magazine today at flipcitymag.com.
Speaker Pelosi's husband Paul made a big investment in chips just before Congress votes on a bill that would give $52 billion in subsidies and tax credits to the chip industry.
Over the course of your career, has your husband ever made a stock purchase or sale based on information he received from you?
No. And I believe if you come to our border, you will be turned back. Do not come. Do not come.
Have you ever received a royalty payment from a company that you later oversaw money going to that company?
You know, I don't know as a fact, but I doubt it.
Well, here's the thing is, why don't you let us know?
Good morning, 7:37. We'd be a little techno beat this morning on the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson. Glad to have you here. I see my old buddy Vishon Nixon is in the chat this morning. Good morning, Vishon. It's good to see you. Thanks for watching the Wake Up America show. Thanks for joining our crew. If all my friends could say hi to Vishon. Vishon and I grew up next door to each other.
Really?
Yeah, Vishon, I just saw he logged into the Facebook chat. Cool. So good morning to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson. You can text the show at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. 1586. And we got a couple text messages. John Taylor Gatto pointed out that the nervousness and self-doubt that's engendered by schools is intentional. It creates employees who doubt themselves rather than question those on authority. I'm not going to go into the whole the educational system of the 20th century and Wilsonianism and how socialist values are what put together the public education system here in the United States for a long time, but needless to say that if you want a good primer on it, then Google the Prussian model for education, and you'll understand, because and Woodrow Wilson even said this. Here, I'm going into it. That they wanted to create two classes of society, one an educated class, and then the other was obedient workers, and that's what the public schools are for. The public schools are there to create obedient workers and an elite aristocracy, essentially to lord over all of us. That's the progressive mantra. Anyways, another listener texted in and said, it's almost like if someone would sell secrets to the Russians, that maybe they have a mental disorder. When I was a recruiter for the Army, you couldn't join if you took ADD meds within a year. WTF. They're talking about that transgender person who was accused of selling secrets to the Russians. If you have a text, if you want to text us, send us 1-573-319-1586. Adam Armstrong said the Hoppian theme colors and beats drew me in like a moth to flame. Yeah. I'm feeling good today. It's Friday, man. It's the smooth beats of AP for Liberty. Yeah. We're going to have a great weekend. Oh, I've got to play this, the Ben Shapiro thing. It's time for a little bit of Twitter weirdness. Let's move our way over to the Twitter weirdness thing. All right, come here. I'm going to play this. This is Ben Shapiro reacting to Lizzo. She's like the, can we say fat acceptance activist, or like, what do we call her? How do we
body
say?
Positivity?
Body positivity. There you go. Body positivity activist who got a hold of James Madison's crystal flute. Apparently she's a skilled flautist.
There's a lot of debate, but both are acceptable, flutist and flautist.
Really?
My daughter played for a while, so we've had that conversation.
Flutist or flautists? Well, she apparently was flouting this flute. That she had this flute, and Ben Shapiro had an interesting take on it. Let's take a listen.
The reason the clip is viral is the contrast between a person twerking and the idea of an extraordinarily classy instrument, a historic instrument that speaks to sort of the gentility of America's founders, being brought into a context that is vulgar. It's the vulgar.
Pause. I'm just going to say that there was probably some point in history where if you played the flute, you were considered a whore. Like dancing in the taverns and the brothels like a whore with the flute. All right. James Madison, he wasn't the one that swam naked in the Potomac, was he?
Oh, I don't know.
I think, or maybe that was John Quincy Adams. Well, he was a whore, damn it. He was into sodomy. Okay, all right, continue.
Vulgarization of American history. Again, Lizzo did both, and only one of those clips went.
So he calls it the vulgarization of American history. All right, well, we got a lot to say about this. Let's continue.
And so if you notice that, then you're very, very bad. If you notice that, then this means that you're some sort of racist, or it means that you don't want black people playing the flute or something. No, I just don't want people twerking with historic instruments. By the way, I'd be similarly offended as a violinist if there was a Stradivarius. Somebody had a Strad, and that Strad was lent out to a musician who then proceeded to twerk on the Strad. I would also be insulted, because it turns out that great art should not be degraded. Great art, American history, they should not be degraded by juxtaposition with vulgarity. That should not be a controversial position, but we've now reached the point in American life where nearly everything is a controversial position. Literally everything. Every day on this show, there's some clip that is taken that is utterly uncontroversial and then made into a thing on Twitter. Because we now live in a world where we do not have a shared reality. This was a point.
Do we ever have a shared reality, Camellia? I mean, I thought we were all living in our own bubbles in a way.
So
there's a lot to say about this one. Let's go.
My little hot take here is that I empathize a little bit with what he's saying as far as the whole twerking thing. I mean,
all right.
I do kind of agree that when you're dealing with history, I mean, there should be some, modicum of appropriate behavior, or maybe deference or respect or something for
sure.
I mean, if you know what I'm saying? I mean, like,
maybe it's art, it's supposed to be wild. It's supposed to be crazy.
I know, and I get that too. I'm a little conflicted about this because
what is conservative art?
Well, Right, I know.
Yeah.
We've had that conversation.
What is conservative art? And somebody text me, 573. What is the greatest work of conservative art in history? Send me a text, 573-319-1586. I'd like to know what a perfect example is of art. And at the time, now we're talking about created at the time, right? At the time when it was created, this was a conservative piece of art. And John McNaughton doesn't count.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about? The guy with the paintings
Yes.
and
Oh my gosh.
Obama standing
Yes.
on the thing, and like that's just like the boomers are just like, oh yeah, that John McNaughton. That's it.
No.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Okay, conservative art. Let's see it. 573-319-1586. Even though one listener texted in and said, even though I try to be socially liberal, I can't help but agree with the whole moral degradation of society. Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel that too, but it feels good to say that, even if it's not true.
Really equate that with, her playing the flute on stage.
No.
Twerking. I mean, like to
Same.
me in the scope of things, like that's really minor. It was not worth getting into a fluster about it. Is it in my
baited
personal
them.
taste?
Yeah.
I mean, no, but who cares? She's an extraordinarily skilled flautist,
Mhm.
and
Flautist.
there's that other video of her playing it, and I think it's amazing. It's great.
I think this, as soon as I saw the reaction to it online, it was just all this, it was so annoying. It's like, why are you going to allow yourself to be triggered and so easily,
People out there talking like this is some sort of intentional slap in the face of white people. Like literally
dare
think
you.
this has something to do with white people.
What does it do with white people? Because it was James Madison's flute. It's like, well, so what? Only white people can touch the James Madison crystal flute from 200 years ago?
Trust me, there was a whole convoluted rationale for why there was some underlying agenda with this.
Mhm. Okay, so somebody texted in with an example of conservative art. The late Roger Scruton, they said. The only thing that I found is Roger Scruton, and he was a philosopher, but I do not see any examples of his art. So you're going to need to send me a text. He looks super old and boring. And again, I like old and boring philosophers and different things like that. But again, I'm looking for an example
I
of
have
conservative art. What?
Thomas Kincaid.
Thomas Kincaid. Hold on, I got to see an example of what we're talking about here. Let me pull it up. Thomas Kincaid. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the kind of thing that you'd get at the Five and Dime. You
Yes.
go and pick up at
The
the
Christian bookstore.
Cottage by the Sea, all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. Not that it's not pretty or anything like
Sure.
that, but it's not going to be,
It doesn't
it's
push
not
the
Picasso.
envelope in any way.
Is Picasso
Right.
conservative art? Like, what is great art? I mean, like, even I feel like Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa. You know what I mean? With her kind of
Mhm.
like smiling with that whore mouth of hers.
Jeez.
I want to hear some examples of conservative. Can the conservative only criticize the great works of art of society? Can the conservative is it possible for a conservative to create a great piece of art? Because it strikes me as like anathema to a conservative to be able to do something that requires you must have wildness in your soul.
Yeah.
I feel to create.
Yeah.
What is the it was a Friedrich Nietzsche quote. He says, in order one must have chaos within oneself in order to give birth to a dancing star.
Yes.
And there certainly is a lack of chaos within the conservative mindset. And listen, I feel like these forces are like yin and yang, right? Like I feel like the libertarian sees the yin yang, right? Whereas the conservative can only see the black of the yin yang, and the liberal can only see the white of the yin yang, right? And so, but the libertarian is able to see that they are both balanced forces, and that there's a little bit of both in each.
Nuance.
Oh, yes. Or maybe just like a bigger picture, for example, if you will.
For sure.
I mean, as libertarians, I think we're free to criticize both ideologies. But, if that's the case, why do we hang out with people on the right more often? Chris, but I'm going to let you answer that, though, but not right now.
Okay.
Because I'm going to have to go to a commercial break.
All right, fine.
When we get back, we'll answer that question. Maybe you'll answer it for us. Send us a text, 573-319-1586. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we get back on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
I enlisted as a medic to be there to help my patients, and after an injury, I found myself as a patient. I experienced post-traumatic seizures. Depression is a big one that comes along with it, PTSD. So I pursued my PhD in neuroscience and regenerative medicine. The coalition has helped fund my academic pursuits. They genuinely care about helping the vet in whatever way that they can. Through supporting the coalition, you're supporting some of the veterans that have the biggest needs.
Visit saluteheroes.org to learn more.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun. Thank you very much.
Had enough yet? Do facts no longer matter? Are lies to be encouraged instead of punished? This is not our inheritance. If truth no longer matters, we will not remain free for long. This is our generation's challenge, to defend our founders' hope that we the people could self-govern if we defend our right to get the facts. And right now, we're building the only defense of free people have, the facts, on every politician, every position they held, every statement they've made, every vote they've made, and any cash they've taken. It's the real history on those now pandering for your vote. There are hundreds of young people building our defense right now, and they need your help. We all have our passions, but as our ancestors knew, when events become so foul they threaten us all, we must stand and defend each other. Please, have our backs. Join us at votesmart.org.
What would happen if I had to pick up the phone, call 911 for one of my family members or one of my neighbors? What would I do if no one was on the other end to respond? What if there was no 911? You can be a part of the solution.
Anybody can be a firefighter. Male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers. We have leaders in business.
Is me, you, anyone that wants to be. There is no typical firefighter.
Halloween is coming. The festival of Samhain approaches, and your lazy butt doesn't have a Halloween costume yet? How can you pledge allegiance to the Dark Lord this year and possibly offend everyone at the same time? Visit the AP for Liberty shop and get your shirt today. The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government, and I'm here to help. So grab your government is scary tee and tell everyone at the party that you're here to help. Other great seasonal items are available as well, so don't miss out. And visit AP for Liberty shop today. That's apforlibertyshop.com.
Good morning, it's 7:51. You're watching the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson. Today I'm joined in studio by my good friend, Camellia Peterson. Camille, good to see ya. Glad to have you here. Can we give her a round of applause? Yeah, big time. Thank you so much for watching. We've been talking about, and I think we've gotten sidetracked, but it's an interesting conversation anyway. About
Do we ever get sidetracked?
We always get sidetracked on this show, yeah. We're talking about like conservative art, and we actually had a couple of good submissions. One, Norman Rockwell. That would be a
That's a good
really
one.
good example of
Yes.
conservative art. Because like I said, with the yin yang, there is the little dot, right? So
Right.
like Norman Rockwell would be like the little black dot in the sea of white, in conservatism, right?
And that reminded me of Grandma Moses, and
Grandma Moses, now what did she do?
well, she was really unconventional, and I mean, it's one of those things where her art isn't something that you would necessarily look at and think, "Oh, that's really beautiful," like it's a Norman Rockwell or something else. So it was a little bit different, and she didn't start painting until she was in her 80s, I think.
Oh, really?
But she, became kind of a phenomenon. I mean, made a lot of money off of it. But anyway, yeah.
That's cool. One of our listeners over on Twitch this morning, Wicked Bender says, "Yo, hey Austin, libertarian voter here. I'm helping with wreck the binary parties in Georgia. Herschel and Warnock both suck." Well, best of luck to you, sir. And so there's a couple of examples of conservative art. Are there any others? Somebody texted in who is apparently a McNaughton fan and was like, "He's a great conservative artist."
Sorry.
I mean, like, here's the thing. I like the style of it. I think the first time I saw it, it really struck me, and I
Mhm.
can see why people like it. It's just almost it's a little too literal for me, in a way. Like I really like art that sort of like conveys a message without beating us over the head with it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Whereas with McNaughton, like there's no room for nuance or subtlety.
Right.
Like he's saying something directly,
Yes,
which is
yes.
fine. Like it's okay to say something, but like one of the things I really like about like going to an art museum is being able to kind of interpret it.
Right. There's a little bit of room for
There's room
your
for
own
interpretation.
interpretation. Right.
Right, and I think maybe that's sort of like, with the conservative mindset, that's kind of like something that's very, it's very literal, right? Whereas they're very facts-based, but art is something that is supposed to like it is have an upswell of emotion, right?
Right.
Where it's
Leave a little to your it should
yeah.
it should leave a little to the imagination. It
Mhm.
should stimulate your imagination.
Right, and when we're talking about like this whole concept of cultural degradation, Tolly Owens says, "Be edgy and all that, fine, yes, absolutely, but have a smidgen of respect." I can understand that. Would someone take a giant crap on the Dead Sea Scrolls? There's a line somewhere. Well, a lot of the Dead Sea Scrolls aren't art, but I mean, yeah, I guess. I mean, people
When you're talking about historical items, that's
yeah,
what she's
yeah, exactly. So, okay, but then, you read that book that I recommended to you, right? The Renegade History of the United
Yes, been a
States.
little while, but yes.
And you know what? I know conservatives will never accept this, but it is a simple fact that the history of the United States wasn't just pioneered by poofy, bouffant, effete, you know, hose wearing, wig wearing white guys in Philadelphia on 1776. They weren't the only people who were playing a part in pioneering American freedom. Pimps, pirates, prostitutes, all sorts of pernicious people were part and parcel of it too. That was a lot of peas, man. Somebody, I need an applause for that. Yeah. Generation applause, please. Thank you. Pat me on the back. Pat myself on the back. But you read that book, and in it they talk about how slaves, like former slaves, and how bordellos, women, the first property, women who owned property owned bordellos. Right.
Sure.
Right. For property rights, that thing that we hold sacrosanct, Republicans, right? The first women that were allowed to do it were because, they were all whores, right? And I say perfect. But what do you think? Send us a text 573-319-1586. Justin Peterson, my brother over on the live stream, says celebrities shouldn't mess with artifacts. Kim Kardashian wearing Marilyn Monroe's crystal dress physically ruined the dress. Okay, yes.
Yeah, that was bad.
Yeah, that one I didn't like, right? But it didn't, is she ethnic? Is Kim Kardashian ethnic? I have no idea.
No idea.
I have no idea.
Like,
But
by the time you surgically do stuff, tan
it's like
and
Michael Jackson, right?
I mean, who knows anymore?
Yeah, I think if Lizzo had dropped that crystal flute, then
Can you imagine?
okay, well then it would have been a different story, right? But I mean, she played the flute a little bit. I was like, who cares? And Lizzo, whether conservatives like it or not, pop culture is going to be pop culture. Kids are going to like what kids like, and seeing a great big fat black woman up on stage, playing a crystal flute is entertaining. It is. It is. It's not gonna I'll say that. It's funny. At least it's funny. Am I wrong here, Camellia, or am I right?
art is subjective, right?
Exactly.
It's so subjective, so.
Exactly. I know a lot of conservatives right now are going to be going over there to some. If they're watching us on Rumble right now, then they're going.
Donald
they're
Trump,
going.
if you can hear us, please, Donald Trump, please save me.
Yeah, like going over to Dan Bongino this morning.
Can we now say memes are art?
Yes, I think so. I think so. What do you think?
think so too.
Send us a text 573-319-1586. Are memes art? That's a good question. 573-319-1586. You down with AP's P's? Yeah, you know me, says Doug Hill over on the live stream. Thaddeus Russell Ick says Quest fanning. He's not a fan. Thaddeus got on the outs when he made some kind of a comment that offended the anti-pedo crusaders out there. I think it's something about like consensual relationships with kids or whatever, and it was like, you're express any opinion like on the wrong side of that one, and you're yeah, exactly right, exactly. It's not Little House on the Prairie here the days anymore. You can't just marry a 12-year-old and
oh my goodness,
and in a Christian church and with 25 other.
No Romeo and Juliet.
No. All right, are we having fun today? I think we're having fun today. Can we get a little bit of a like and applause real quick before I go to commercial break? I want to remind you, today's the day of the giveaway. So we're gifting, I'm going to cough. We're gifting the sign behind my head right now. So we're going to do that today in the last segment. Next hour, you still got a chance to win. And here's the thing. You've been thinking about becoming a monthly pledger. You get an entry by becoming a monthly pledger. Camellia's a monthly pledger.
You can do it.
You can do it, right? $5 a month to help support the show. If you like to watch the show, please support the show. If you can't support us monthly on a monthly donation basis, I get it. Totally understand. You could still get a free entry. Head over to ap4libertyshop.com this morning, and you've got about an hour, maybe a little bit less than an hour to get your entry in there. So head over to ap4libertyshop.com, and at the top of the website, you'll see that you enter your email and you've got a chance to win this awesome sign behind my head. We'll give it away today on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupamericashow.com.
Hello, my name is Kelvin. Welcome to Frenchy Bush. This is my Didi's website. Now I've decided to speak to you with my real voice for the first time ever to tell you about how cool Frenchy Bush is. But I've decided that this is the perfect opportunity to share with you. Frenchy Bush is a good website. You should follow us on socials. If you like Frenchies or any kind of bulldogs, me and my new brother George are going to try to make your life more fun.
Hello, I'm George. My neck isn't really thick yet, but it will be. We are so glad you're here. Please ignore my floating eyeball. It helps me spot predators who might be approaching from the sides.
Didi made Frenchy bullshit to review things that he uses on me and my brother to tell you if it's good or bullshit. Take this collar, for example. Didi really likes it. Didi said it's really handy because us Frenchies got thick necks, need something really tough. People think Frenchies are little, but if you look at us from below, you can see we are really pretty buff. Beefcake, yes. Look at my creamy thighs and chest. Yes, you like that?
Big brother, please focus.
Frenchy Bush. Please follow us for more great content and read the Frenchy Bush blog for more fun and cool stuff.
I'm a public defender.
I am a public defender.
I'm proud to be a public defender.
80% of Americans accused of a crime will get appointed a public defender.
Everybody from a speeding ticket to capital murder.
For every dollar we spend on public defenders, we spend $3 on prosecutors.
Public defenders have to do pretty much everything on their own.
Social workers, counselors.
Investigating is another piece of it.
The average public defender holds 300 cases annually.
You never feel like there's enough time.
Public defenders have health issues all the time.
A lot of people give up and say, I can't do this work anymore.
Gideon's Promise trains, mentors, and supports public defenders. There are a lot of people who say that they would not still be public defenders, but for Gideon's Promise.
It's fueled me to continue on in this fight.
Gideon's Promise has changed the face of public defense.
People see us as troublemakers.
Good trouble only.
We don't make it easy. It should not be easy to take away someone's liberty.
Ever hear the one about the frog? Put a frog in a pot of boiling water and it'll jump right out.
Here's my resume again.
But put a frog in a pot of cool water and slowly heat it up, and that frog will boil. It's a lie. But as a metaphor for us and all that we go through as veterans,
Any real world experience.
it's a story that rings true. We make excuses for how we feel. We push everything down. We tell ourselves the lie that it's easier to stay in that boiling water, to disconnect. And some days, maybe it is. But you've never been interested in easy. Make no mistake, reaching out is hard. Do it anyway. You're not alone. You've got this. You are not a frog.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
In case you didn't already know, the British monarchy, unlike its non-royal constituents, is legally exempt from paying income tax, capital gains tax, and inheritance tax. A specific British statute allows inheritance to pass from, quote, sovereign to sovereign without being taxed, to avoid depleting the royal family's wealth if two monarchs die in quick succession. Therefore, King Charles will not have to pay the regularly applied 40% tax on the $300 million plus fortune he has inherited from the Queen, but he has chosen to follow his mother's lead in voluntarily paying income tax. The monarchy cost British taxpayers the equivalent of $118 million during 2021, a 17% increase from the previous fiscal year, according to figures for the Sovereign Grant, which funds the Queen, now King, and the household's official expenses.
Good morning, it's 8:05 and you're watching the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson. Delighted to have you here. My good friend Camellia Peterson still joining me in studio. Hi, CJ.
Morning.
Good to see you. Thank you so much. Hey, YouTube is really kind of blowing up this morning. We got a lot of people over there. It's nice to see. Yeah, big shout out to all my YouTubers. I appreciate you all over there. One of our listeners. Oh, you, Rare Camellia. Your chats come up on the screen now with the live replay that we've got set up there. What were you saying about the Gulag Archipelago or something?
Somebody was saying in the chat about that they had tried to read it and that it was just so long and kind of, repetitive and dry. And I was like, I got it on audiobook. It's incredibly long, but I have listened to a portion of it so far. And boy, that first part is hard to listen to. It's just...
One listener texted in this morning because we started this, boy, I wouldn't say a firestorm of controversy, but a firestorm of discussion about whether or not art can be conservative. And somebody texted in and said, music is art. Megadeth leader Dave Mustaine is a conservative.
Yeah.
And who's the, I'm talking about with the bow and arrow and he's always eating the meat and the animals. He's the guitarist, conservative, real conservative.
You are
not Kid Rock, but Kid Rock is one of them too.
It's like you're asking me to remember
He's like
a name.
ultra conservative rock star. God, what is his name? Not Kid Rock.
Somebody text and help us out.
Please, for the love of God. 573-319-1586. Please, somebody tell us the name
of
it.
Arrow and eating.
No,
meat.
he eats a lot of meat. Good God, he's a big Trump fan. Ted Nugent. Thank God. Oh my God, I couldn't remember Ted Nugent. Why?
Sorry, Ted.
It's Friday. I'm exhausted. Like, this stuff is definitely getting easier, but it's still a lot of work getting this show up on the air. And you were saying that you felt the other day that I'm getting a little more comfortable because it's getting more zany.
The goofiness is coming out more.
The goofiness is coming out more, yeah. Well, what do you like the most about the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson? I'd love to hear what kind of guests you like, what kind of topics that you like that we cover. Some people, they probably don't like the zaniness. They're more about the serious constitutional discussions and rants. But like,
I like both.
Yeah, because like sometimes you want to have a little bit of fun, right? You want to dance. Come on, Camilla, you could dance better than that.
I can remember you used to tell me, I'd be like, you need to talk about like this constitutional issue. You're like, Camilla, nobody wants to hear that.
Exactly. No, thank you. Yeah, not interested.
By the way, our YouTube people, they knew it. They're like, Ted Nugent.
Exactly. You know what this show is?
We are led by very, very stupid people.
But we have very, very smart viewers.
Exactly. Here's one for the viewers. You can send us a text at 573-319-1586, and we appreciate you very much. And also our friends over on rumble.com. You can over there. We appreciate you very much because we're trying to grow that platform, and we actually crossed 100 followers over on Rumble. So thank you very much to all of our supporters over there. And if you're watching this morning and you don't know who I am, much about me or anything, this is kind of like your first time being exposed to some of my content because of, new platform, new faces. I see we've got about 11 people watching now this morning. Thanks for watching. And we'd love it if you'd introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about who you are and where you're from and, how you found the stream and the show. And you get a lot of lurkers sometimes. And, I'm not going to, I can't call you out by name. So, introduce yourself. Let's make friends. We love to make friends. And if you'd like to learn more about me, if you go to the wakeupAmericaShow.com website on the About page, there's a little bit of a bio there, but we should move on. Jordan Peterson breaks down in tears when asked about Olivia Wilde calling him a hero to the incel community. Okay, that was Variety. And it's basically this movie, Don't Worry, Darling. She's on a press tour, and Wilde called Jordan Peterson, like Camellia Peterson, this pseudo-intellectual hero to the incel community. And Olivia Wilde is obviously an intellectual because she's an actress and she's got, and she's got boobies, and so she. So she's got opinions, right? So we have to listen to them. And if you're pretty with boobies, you have opinions, then you automatically you're an intellectual, right? We should trust your views on things because you can make pictures on a screen and everybody can watch it on a big screen, and and you have boobies, so we listen, right?
Legit.
But Jordan Peterson is actually a doctor.
Well,
not, but like Dr. Phil's a doctor, right? But I mean, I think Dr. Phil's a doctor in business. I'm not sure, but Dr. Jordan Peterson is a doctor of clinical psychology, which means that he's like pretty much a doctor,
yes.
right? But not like somebody who operates on people, but he could prescribe you Ritalin for whatever your weird, thing is. But here's the thing. They call him the king of incels, or she says this pseudo intellectual hero to the incel community. And I think we need to, first of all, define incel. Do you want to do that for us?
Well, I was asking you earlier because like her definition of incel was basically white men who, live in their parents' basements and who think that they are entitled to sex.
That's like the unkind, yeah. So like entitled to sex might be like the secondary thing, but I mean, just the primary definition, as I kind of understand it, involuntary celibacy, right? So we're talking about a group of men who would like to have sex, who would like to be with a woman, but who either can't or who can't. You can't say can't or won't because it's involuntary, right? So involuntarily celibate, meaning that they would prefer to not be celibate. But then there's MGTOW, which is men going their own way, and that's again something else entirely. But the thing is, Jordan Peterson was crying because he's getting attacked for for essentially giving young men hope, right? For talking to them like they're human beings and sort of recognizing their emotionality. I know that nobody's going to give a shit, but this is actually a really difficult time in human history to be a man, right? Where it's sort of politically incorrect just to be a man, as Bill Maher once put it in a comedy special he did. But because it's like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? If you don't talk about your emotions and you bottle them up and you go crazy and you lash out at society, then you're an incel, right? But if you batten down the hatches, if you listen to Andrew Tate, and if you become a masculine man and do all these kinds of things, then you have toxic
Yep, you're
masculinity.
toxic. Yep.
Right. So it's a no-win situation for men, right? And of course, everything that women do is beautiful and wonderful and perfect, and is only to be celebrated because you have the vagine, right? It's so
Yes.
wonderful.
Well, and the thing is and then even on the other end of things, we can't just come to the middle with a balance of things. But men have always been, boxed into this kind of two-dimensional image of they've either got to be the protectors and, be masculine, never cry, but we don't. Why can't they be all of those things?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, why can't they be emotional people who actually feel things and, are tender-hearted and they might cry?
Well, surprise, surprise, women, when you talk to women about your emotions, if you cry in front of a woman, they don't make this noise. They, if you sound like, that's what it sounds like to them. So, I mean, and I've experienced this phenomenon, right? Before I got married, I dated women for a number of years, and I had to go through a lot to find the right one. And I'll tell you that, I was conditioned, I would say, I learned and was conditioned to bottle up many of my more like tender feelings or affection
Sure.
toward a female. And there were times when I actually withheld love, withheld affection, withheld the the delicate or sensitive side of myself in order to prevent my partner from being, what would you say, disattracted, or from basically just turning them off, essentially, because I knew that would happen because it's happened before, right? And there also is like this kind of phenomenon where they'll cheat on you more when that kind of stuff happens. And after that happens a few times as a man, you start to learn your lesson, and you go, okay, well, I guess this is how I need to behave in order to attract women. And of course, at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, what kind of women are you really attracting with that?
Right.
Right. And if you're an involuntary celibate, maybe it's not such a bad thing to be alone, because I would say, maybe 5% of women really are marriageable material. Out of 100% of women, probably only 5% of them are really marriage material, to be honest.
And I think that, men and women alike have to reach the point where they can be alone and be healthy.
Mm-hmm.
That it's okay to be that way, because if you're expecting, someone else in your life to complete you or make you something more than you are, then that's not going to be a healthy relationship either way. And I think we're seeing this as the backlash to feminism in the extreme that it has become. And we just, and it creates those things that you talk about where you behave in certain ways, you hold back on things, or you don't show your affection enough because you're gauging how that person is going to respond.
Mm-hmm.
And so we end up playing games in relationships, and that is, I can't stand that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. What do you think? Send us a text, 573-319-1586. One of our listeners, they're all, there's like 50 Ted Nugent texts that came in from people telling me that, yes, it was Ted Nugent. Yes, correct. Dr. JBP is known for crying when passionately talking about a topic, he's a brave man for doing that. Another listener texted in and said, did you know Ben Shapiro's wife is a doctor also? I have heard that.
Time or two.
Yeah, one listener, and they also said that even though I try to be social liberal, I can't help but agree with the moral degradation of society. I don't care about Lizzo; does not live in my head rent free. Another listener texted in and said Ted Nugent takes a demented boomer to remember. Okay, yeah, he's bipolar, says that listener, and a terrible writer. No, he is a PhD. Reluctant virgins is what. Yeah, so reluctant virgins, right? From the involuntary celibates, right? But I mean, I don't know. It's let's talk about Andrew Tate for a moment, because didn't your daughters approached you with Andrew Tate, didn't they?
Yeah, actually, my older daughter brought him up and said something in the online circles, and about that was kind of, they were gauging people and kind of evaluating them based on how they reacted to Andrew Tate. And I was like, what? And of course,
That's probably very common.
I'm naturally very skeptical when
Mhm.
I hear that. And I'm like, Are you sure? And so I was like, okay, I don't know much about this. So I went and looked, and I looked long enough to be like, oh, I can kind of understand that.
Yeah, so I watched some Andrew Tate videos just to kind of figure out what the fuss was all about. I guess he's
Right.
on Rumble, like they because he's censored everywhere else, so he's
Right.
over on Rumble. But it's pretty. I mean, I won't say stereotypical, but I mean it's pretty typical kind of like manosphere stuff that you
Yeah.
that you would hear. And like they showed some video of him like having ex-girlfriend that was voluntary, and she came out later and said it was voluntary. And the thing is that your sexual proclivities are under a microscope if you do not adhere to the liberal orthodoxy, right? So what's fascinating too is this whole controversy about the new Jeffrey Dahmer show on Netflix. Did you see that they removed the
Yeah,
LGBT tag from it?
I
They're
did
like,
see that.
oh, we don't want this kind of representation. The LGBTQ community doesn't want to have this kind of representation, which I think this is a fascinating topic. We should talk about Andrew Tate. We should talk about Jeffrey Dahmer. We should talk about all that and more when we get back, because I got to go to commercial break so I can get paid, yo. Don't forget that today's the giveaway here, just a couple segments away from your chance to win this awesome sign behind me right here. You can get a free entry. Head over to ap4libertyshop.com and send us your email. I will send you marketing emails so that you'll hopefully buy products from me in the future, obviously.
Good stuff.
Duh. It is good stuff. And Christmas is coming.
Yeah.
We got some Christmas items on there. I've got I've got a little snowflake with Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas in it. And it's a bunch of other. We've also got like Thomas Jefferson Christmas stockings, and like wrapping paper with like bullets on it and stuff. So all kinds of awesome stuff. So head over to ap4libertyshop.com, get yourself a free entry, or if you make a purchase, then yeah, that's another entry too. Appreciate you. We'll be back on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
American conservatism is distinct, like America is distinct from the United Kingdom. American conservatism's roots comes out of the Wild West, out of pioneerism. The difference between American conservatives and European conservatives is that Americans are cowboys. We are that God, guns, gold, and girls. It's wild here. And we should stay that way. We shouldn't allow a European version of conservatism to come and infect us here. We like it wide open spaces here, deep in the heart of Texas and all that.
Austin's wife. I want to thank you all for watching the Wake Up America Show with Austin Peterson. This show has been a huge venture for our family, so we would love it if you could join us.
I believe in liberty, and I believe in Austin's ability to spread the ideas of liberty. Do you?
I want to ask you today to join Peterson's Patriots with a pledge of $17.76 a month. Help us to stay cancel-proof so we can spread the message of limited government across the country. I joined Peterson's Patriots myself, just in a little different way. Visit wakeupAmericaShow.com/support and make your pledge today.
Average Americans are turning into conspiracy theorists at an unprecedented rate. Flip City Magazine was created for new converts to aid in their in-depth research along the path of absolute truth. We offer the hardest-hitting news and opinion delivered uncensored in print directly to your door. Display proudly on your coffee table or hide discreetly under your mattress. Flip City is the magazine they don't want you to see, much less read. Subscribe to Flip City Magazine today at flipcitymag.com.
Speaker Pelosi's husband, Paul, made a big investment in chips just before Congress votes on a bill that would give $52 billion in subsidies and tax credits to the chip industry.
Over the course of your career, has your husband ever made a stock purchase or sale based on information he received from you?
No.
And I believe if you come to our border, you will be turned back. Do not come. Do not come.
Have you ever received a royalty payment from a company that you later oversaw money going to that company?
You know, I don't know as a fact, but I doubt it.
Well, here's the thing is, why don't you let us know?
It's 8:23. You're on camera, Camellia. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. When you hear the music starting, we're back. Yeah. Hi. Welcome to the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson. Good morning. Tony Allegra says, "Hey, YouTube crew, good to see you there." Eric July just released an entire comic book universe.
That's right.
And it made $1 million in a day. Then PayPal froze his account, claiming he was running a scam. Isn't that fascinating? Yeah. PayPal is a dangerous company to do business with for sure. You can text the show this morning at 573-319-1586. We'd love to hear from you and your thoughts. We were talking about Andrew Tate. Somebody texted in and said, Tate is obviously playing up his douchebaggery, but when he talks about thinking logically and making the best decisions, he isn't wrong. The persona is just to get views, but the messages are important. Just goes to show what you have to do nowadays to be paid attention to so you can get out a message. Good point.
I think that's accurate, actually, because I mean, even in the middle of all of that, there were some good things that he said. I mean, he had some good messaging. It's just that so much of that, gets overshadowed by the outrage factor.
And I'll tell you, this is, not to make it too personal or anything like that, but, like in my own career, like as somebody who's like a public personality, that temptation is always there to like to say things that you don't believe, right? And to act in a way that's not you because you know that it will get a reaction. And like, it's very tempting for me to do that. And over the years, as I've like built up my career, like, I get frustrated sometimes because I'm not growing as quickly as I would like to, but I've chosen to sort of take the path of slow, steady growth, which I see as more reliable as I, go into my, middle age and then into my older years, because I can do this career my entire life, right? Writing, producing, doing, performing all this stuff. But like when you see people like Andrew Tate and they just come out of nowhere and they're saying very obnoxious things, it's very tempting to sort of like, to copy that,
Sure. Well, and I think the downside to someone like Tate is it takes what's probably underlying a good message, but it takes it too far, and then you are role modeling men to take what are good masculine behaviors, but to take them too far in the other direction.
Right, because like, if there is, I mean, people, I wouldn't say, as the left defines toxic masculinity, I would not agree with them on probably what they see as that, because like typical manly virtues, the left would see as toxic masculinity. But there is, just like there's toxic females, right? Toxic feminists, there's toxic men, right? And their behavior is very destructive. And when men are destructive, they're very destructive, uber destructive, right? And it's something, when you talk about, you hear the statistics from MGTOW people, men going their own way, they'll talk about like, oh, men are the most workplace deaths. Most people who are murdered are men. Well, it's like, well, who's killing them? It's other men, right? And, mostly, wars are fought, waged by men, right? Sometimes over women, but, to a certain extent, right? There is something about men that I think, over the years, has been reformed. And it's certainly, I mean, if you look at it a long enough timeline, we're not in caveman days anymore, right? We don't want to go back to that. When making America great again doesn't involve hitting you over the head with a dinosaur bone and dragging you back to my cave and making you mine and ravishing you, or
The survival instincts are still there, though.
right. Yeah, exactly. Like for probably a very long period of time until civilization probably began when it was no longer morally acceptable to rape a woman. Like at that time, that's probably the marker when you could go back in time and say when it was no longer acceptable for this to happen, and when there was a punishment for doing it. But before then, when we were animals, and within the animal kingdom today, rape is the norm. It's not like there's there are consensual interactions, but I mean, have you ever seen a duck penis, Camellia?
Do we don't have to talk about that?
You know what I'm talking about. Come on.
You're talking
Have
about.
you seen a duck penis?
Ow.
Ouch. Yes. What is a duck penis? Why is it so special?
Duck penis.
Yes, you are. Come on.
Corkscrews or something.
Yes,
Like a
it's-
wine opener.
Exactly. So stay away from Camellia, because otherwise she'll feel like it'll hurt.
My gosh. So, when we talk about, let's take this back to incels.
Duck
please.
peepees have barbs.
Gosh.
Says Cecilia Harden. Duck peepees have barbs. Duck peepees have barbs. See, this is the kind of content that'll get viewers, right? No, we're actually losing viewers over on Facebook, I see.
Okay, so when we talk about the incel community, I mean, to me, is one of the things I think about is, are we just more aware of this now, or
Mhm.
maybe the community is larger because we have the internet and people have a way to connect. Kind of like there's some other things like this that I think are becoming more prevalent because people get reinforcement for it, and validated. But I also can't help but think about, we can talk about all the societal norms and pressures, but what about home?
Mm.
What about parents? Because a child is formed, by, their family life and their parents. And that's got to be a huge factor in this.
Well, it's really difficult for men to communicate with other men.
Sure.
Not gonna lie, like
Yeah.
having a conversation with other men, like is tough. And I've gotten to a point now where I like, and I don't think he'll mind that I say this, but like my buddy Joe, who was in my
Mhm.
wedding, Joe Trotter, I've known him for years. I've gotten to the point now, and he's kind of going through a difficult time in his life, where I tell him on the phone, I say I love you.
Right.
And I say to another man who's not in your family or something like that, that's kind of a big deal to say something like that to another man. But I mean it, and I know that by telling him that, whatever he's struggling with right now, that he needs to hear that, because it's one thing to hear it from your parents, but when you have a community of friends who love you, the thing about friends that's different from family that are so important, is that you earned that love.
Right.
Right. When you have friends who will tell you, I love you, and you're not their family relation, that I feel like is almost greater in a way, right? If you're I know that there's no greater love than that of God and your family. I understand. But like an earned love, I mean, that to me ought to be like the most bolstering thing ever.
Right. There's no obligation in
Right.
it.
Have you ever like had like a large enough circle of friends that maybe you were at a birthday party or it was some kind of special event or something like that, and it wasn't necessarily, maybe some family was there, but it was mostly friends that were not family, and have them like expressing their love, like joy, like how much they love you, and just like to have that circle of like sort of attention and sort of affirmation and things like that. It's not a self affirmation, it's an external validation. I really think that there's nothing nothing quite as exhilarating as that sort of a feeling, right? And typically it's like birthdays and stuff, but
Sure. And I think that one of the things that has come out of men reacting to them, the degradation that they've experienced with feminism, is that I've noticed for several years now that there are a lot of articles written, there are a lot of resources where you hear the importance of masculine relationships being talked about a lot more, and how that men need men and they need that quality time together with just men, where
we need
there's
we need our safe spaces. Chris Morrell over in the live stream says that, but after you say I love you to another man, you got to add no homo.
or a nice big pat on the back or something, right?
Yeah, like when you hug your guy friends, you got to like pat them on the back. It's kind of like it's part of the deal.
Can I tell you? Okay, so when I grew in church, we used to do like, okay, whatever. We're gonna get into a little bit weird.
Here we go.
We did a foot washing ceremony, but anyway, like.
Oh my God, that's right. Weird.
Okay, so the.
No, God, please, no.
Are you done yet? The men and the women were separate, and but you would always know when the men were finished because you would hear all of this back patting really loudly, and you knew that they were hugging each other for the one time a year.
Yes.
Back patting going on.
John Rail over in the Facebook live stream said, being a guy in this day and age is tough, especially when you are single and don't have a good family. I'm sure dating sucks ass right now. It's literally a meat market. And when men are viewed as garbage as we are right now, it's tough. When you don't have a strong family around you, you are alone. And when you don't have many people that you can call true friends, it sucks. That kind of is where I am right now. John, we're your friend, buddy.
Yep.
So you're not alone. You got us, man.
I think there's a lot to be said for going out and find an actual physical community.
Yes.
Not just online. Too.
And we are a real community. Camellia, we're going to hang out with a bunch of our friends. Where are we going tomorrow?
Herman, Oktoberfest.
Oktoberfest. Yeah, we wish you were with us, John Rail.
Beer.
Maybe you need to drive out to Herman tomorrow and meet up with us. And then you can meet your little Helga with her boobies pushed up and a little Heidi for you is waiting. All right. I got to go to commercial break. When we get back, we'll talk about this a little bit more on the Wake Up America show. Don't forget, we're going to give away this sign at the end of the show. Make sure you get your entry in at apforlibertyshop.com. We'll be back with more Wake Up America. WakeUpAmericaShow.com.
Hello, my name is Kelvin. Welcome to Frenchy Bush. This is my Didi's website. Now I've decided to speak to you with my real voice for the first time ever to tell you about how cool Frenchy Bush is. But I've decided that this is the perfect opportunity to share with you. Frenchy Bush is a good website. You should follow us on socials. If you like Frenchies or any kind of bulldogs, me and my new brother George are going to try to make your life more fun.
Hello, I'm George. My neck isn't really thick yet, but it will be. We are so glad you're here. Please ignore my floating eyeball. It helps me spot predators who might be approaching from the sides.
Didi made Frenchy bullshit to review things that he uses on me and my brother to tell you if it's good or bullshit. Take this collar, for example. Didi really likes it. Didi said it's really handy because us Frenchies got thick necks. Need something really tough. People think Frenchies are little, but if you look at us from below, you can see we are really pretty buff. Beefcake. Yes. Look at my creamy thighs and chest. Yes. You like that?
Big brother, please focus.
Frenchy Bullshit. Please follow us for more great content and read the Frenchy Bullshit blog for more fun and cool stuff.
I'm a public defender.
I am a public defender.
I'm proud to be a public defender.
80% of Americans accused of a crime will get appointed a public defender.
Everybody from a speeding ticket to capital murder.
For every dollar we spend on public defenders, we spend $3 on prosecutors.
Public defenders have to do pretty much everything on their own.
Social workers, counselors.
Investigating is another piece of it.
The average public defender holds 300 cases annually.
You never feel like there's enough time.
Public defenders have health issues all the time.
A lot of people give up and say, I can't do this work anymore.
Gideon's Promise trains, mentors, and supports public defenders. There are a lot of people who say that they would not still be public defenders, but for Gideon's Promise.
It's fueled me to continue on in this fight.
Gideon's Promise has changed the face of public defense.
People see us as troublemakers.
Good trouble only.
We don't make it easy. It should not be easy to take away someone's liberty.
Ever hear the one about the frog? Put a frog in a pot of boiling water and it'll jump right out.
Here's my resume again.
But put a frog in a pot of cool water and slowly heat it up, and that frog will boil. It's a lie. But as a metaphor for us and all that we go through as veterans,
real-world experience.
it's a story that rings true. We make excuses for how we feel. We push everything down. We tell ourselves the lie that it's easier to stay in that boiling water, to disconnect. And some days, maybe it is. But you've never been interested in easy. Make no mistake, reaching out is hard. Do it anyway. You're not alone. You've got this. You are not a frog.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Good morning. Happy Friday. It's 8:38. You're watching the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson. Delighted to have you here. I'm joined by my studio guest, Camellia. How you feeling, Camellia?
Good morning. Good.
Good. We got some really good text messages.
Oh, can't wait.
I can't wait. Yes. Kathy Jo Loy over on the text line said that she always tunes in at the wrong time. Yeah.
Gosh, I'm sorry.
It's been a little weird this morning. I'm not going to say. It's a little weird. Somebody texted in and said, does your dog say sick nips? Or am I mishearing something? What is he talking about?
Oh, on the Frenchie VS commercial?
Oh, yeah. He doesn't say sick nips.
Creamy thighs.
I'm not sure. Creamy thighs. Yeah, something like that. I'm not entirely sure. Corey from YouTube says, I heard a woman ask, why, when men get together, they act like a bunch of immature savages.
Oh, come on. She's obviously no fun.
And I think it's because the last time we were that happy, we were kids. So we hearken back to that and act like dumbasses. Shooting stuff, blowing stuff up, poking a body with a stick down by the train tracks, wholesome stuff. America. That's always good stuff. What was this other one, though? Oh, somebody, oh, God, no. Where's the... Oh, here we go. Somebody said, this was Corey. He goes, I was walking my dog and two little girls wanted to pet her. He's listening to the show this morning. He was walking his dog. He said, your orgasm sound kept playing and they definitely wondered what the hell my phone was doing. Oh, God. He's probably feeling like this. So far, so good. The show's going great. This is a perfect time for us to sort of, like you say, dovetail to this other story about the that I was reading from NBC. It says there are three main attachment styles in every relationship. Here's the healthiest type, says a therapist. He says our attachment style is shaped and developed in early childhood by our relationships with our parents. According to the attachment theory, first developed by a couple of psychologists in the 50s, we mirror the dynamics that we had with our parents or primary caregivers as infants or children. And I can believe that because, it's like people who are typically had violence done to them as a kid, will have that, will be the same way, right? And apparently they've identified three main attachment styles. And it asks the question, which one are you? Now, attachment theory is nuanced, just like humans are, although it is a spectrum of four styles. Common parlance refers to only three: anxious, avoidant, and secure. These are attachment styles of a relationship. Studies show that people who are securely attached have the healthiest of relationships. That makes sense. And it's the type that everyone should strive for. Understanding what style you fall under and the specific details can help you take control of how you relate to other people, particularly in stressful situations. This is definitely, and Stephanie would love this, right? My wife, because she's all into this psychosocial stuff. And she deals with, doing therapy with all of her clients. And she has had, I probably in the past, but I don't think with me, an anxious attachment style. It's characterized by a concern the other person, friend, or family member will not reciprocate your level of availability. This is generally caused when a child learns that their caregiver or parent is unreliable and does not consistently provide responsive care towards their needs. Anxious attachment, right? Where you have a sense of untrustworthiness, but you generally evaluate others positively. I can see that for sure in anxious people. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you want to add to that?
Well, and I was gonna say, I think, that a lot of people probably feel like this. I mean, a
Mhm.
lot of the times.
Tony Allegra on the live stream said, "No, my house is fine. We got lucky in St. Pete." Glad to hear that, Tony. The second type of attachment style for relationships, an avoidant attachment style. This is, children who fall into this category tend to avoid interaction with their parents and show little or no distress during separation.
Mm.
The child may believe that they cannot depend on the relationship. An avoidant attachment style shows up in adults who hold a positive self-image and a negative image of others. They prefer to. What was that face?
No, nothing. I'm
What's that
listening,
face?
listening and thinking.
Okay. Yeah,
How
what
dare
is-
you?
The avoidant struggles with intimacy and expressing feelings, thoughts, and emotions. They are often accused of being distant and closed off. The closer someone gets and the needier they seem to become, the more an avoidant withdraws. That's avoidant attachment style. What are you thinking of an example, Camellia?
Well,
Spill
I
it.
was just thinking that, I mean, I've kind of experienced that before where I sometimes it's a little scary if somebody is too needy,
Mhm.
and so
Oh,
you
yeah.
tend to kind of like push back and like step away from that. So
Sure.
I get that.
So a needy person might be an anxious,
Right.
right? They have an anxious attachment style and stuff like that. And I've had a relationship or two like that where it was, the other person was very, anxious about them leaving you and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know. I guess I didn't even think that it stemmed from their childhood. Steffi says everything stems from your childhood. That like all your social psychology stems from your experiences as a kid. I I'm not going to disagree. She's got a master's degree, and I'm just a dumbass musical theater major. So I mean, she would be the expert on this in terms of the relationships that people have with one another. But I don't know. I mean, is there any way to break out? You can't believe 100% in the nature and nurture argument. It can't all be
That's what I was just thinking about
right.
was the nature nurture argument. And they say that a child's personality
Mhm.
is pretty much formed and set, at a very young
Mhm.
age, 3, 5 years old even.
Mhm.
So I think that, there are certain things, and I think there are certain things that are nature too,
Mhm.
that are just kind of ingrained in us. But so much of that is nurture.
Mhm.
And we know that that's been scientifically proven
Mhm.
over and over. But it is, I think that the challenge for parents is then to also teach their children how to constantly look for ways to better themselves and to work on some of those things because we all have those insecurities and those things that we have to work to be more secure and more balanced.
For sure. And the final attachment style that's been identified by psychologists is the secure attachment
Mhm.
style. So these are people who are securely attached, appreciate their own self worth, and their ability to be themselves in their relationships. I feel like this is me. Like perfect in every way. Right?
Like,
But like I guess I don't identify with like feeling anxious, right? I don't identify with feeling avoidant. Maybe more avoidant than anxious ever in my relationships, but I certainly don't do that now. I've grown up and I'm more mature, but they are able to regulate emotions and feelings in a relationship. Yep, check. They have a strong goal-oriented behavior when on their own. Check me.
mm,
They don't struggle with opening up and trusting others. That's true. I really don't, and probably I should be a little more careful about it. They are comfortable being alone and use that time to explore their emotions and to play Civilization 4 on Xbox. Oh, it's me. They have
oh,
they have a strong capacity to reflect on how they are maneuvering in a relationship, and they have light brown hair that's thinning a little in the front. Oh, that's
fascinating.
me.
Did
It's
they talk
fascinating.
To you?
Wow.
Is there a
It's
picture of you in there?
secure attachment style. But we all know people like this. I mean, sometimes people are good at hiding what they are underneath, and sometimes like people who are self-confident, we sort of wish that it's kind of like, oh, it's all an act. They're not really like that, and they're not really that self-secure and self-confident. But not to like break the heart of all of the people out there who are on the edge, how do you say it? Psychologically, right? Who are like, but there are people out there that actually are doing fine and feeling good.
Sure. Well,
So it's possible.
it is possible. And I will say that, sometimes you grow into that and sometimes you let go of, what are often the expectations of other people on you.
Mhm.
And this is what I mentioned earlier, that men and women alike need to be comfortable in, being with themselves,
Right.
being alone.
All right. Well, we're not going to leave you alone. We're going to stick around for one more segment, and we're going to give away the sign. I'm going to go to the list, draw a name from random. This is the chance for you, if you haven't gotten your entry in yet, to win. WakeUpAmericaShow.com, where it's giving away this wooden sign, and I will gift it to one person when we get back on the Wake Up America Show at WakeUpAmericaShow.com.
I enlisted as a medic to be there to help my patients, and after an injury, I found myself as a patient. I experienced post-traumatic seizures. Depression is a big one that comes along with it, PTSD. So I pursued my PhD in neuroscience and regenerative medicine. The coalition has helped fund my academic pursuits. They genuinely care about helping the vet in whatever way that they can. Through supporting the coalition, you're supporting some of the veterans that have the biggest needs.
Visit saluteheroes.org to learn more.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun. Thank you very much.
Had enough yet? Do facts no longer matter? Are lies to be encouraged instead of punished? This is not our inheritance. If truth no longer matters, we will not remain free for long. This is our generation's challenge, to defend our founders' hope that we the people could self-govern if we defend our right to get the facts. And right now, we're building the only defense of free people have, the facts, on every politician, every position they held, every statement they've made, every vote they've made, and any cash they've taken. It's the real history on those now pandering for your vote. There are hundreds of young people building our defense right now, and they need your help. We all have our passions, but as our ancestors knew, when events become so foul they threaten us all, we must stand and defend each other. Please, have our backs. Join us at votesmart.org.
What would happen if I had to pick up the phone, call 911 for one of my family members or one of my neighbors? What would I do if no one was on the other end to respond? What if there was no 911? You can be a part of the solution.
Anybody can be a firefighter. Male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers. We have leaders in business.
is me, you, anyone that wants to be.
There is no typical firefighter.
Halloween is coming. The festival of Samhain approaches, and your lazy butt doesn't have a Halloween costume yet? How can you pledge allegiance to the Dark Lord this year and possibly offend everyone at the same time? Visit the AP for Liberty shop and get your shirt today. The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government, and I'm here to help. So grab your government is scary tea and tell everyone at the party that you're here to help. Other great seasonal items are available as well, so don't miss out. And visit AP for Liberty shop today. That's apforlibertyshop.com.
Good morning. It's 8:52. You're watching the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson and then my other personality, Austin Peterson, because Camellia decided to leave her phone playing so we can get a nice little bit of feedback there. Turn your phone off. You come into my studio and your phone is on. Just saying. All right, it's time for the giveaway. Who's going to win? I'm going to just go down my Excel spreadsheet this morning and we are going to pick a winner at random. I'm going to just leave my cursor on the screen in the right spot and boom. Yes, he's a local. The winner of the big sign is, can you guess? You think you know who it is?
I don't know. It's exciting. It's a local.
Yes, it's a local. Yes, the name is Tanner Kemna. Congratulations. Tanner Kemna of Kemna Collision Repair. Yes,
awesome.
That's great. That's great. Make it easy to get it to him. We got a lot of local listeners from the show that came over from the other show and are supporters of that. If you came over from the old show, then send us a text, 573-319-1586. What do you think of the new show versus the old show? I'd be really curious to hear from people because we get a lot of texts from the 573.
Right.
So, there were a lot of people who messaged me and they were really sad to see that the old show was ending. And I know that a lot of them definitely still miss John. And I miss John too, especially because I really need somebody to hit these buttons.
Yeah.
But now it's me hitting all these buttons. But
John's bumper music.
John's bumper music, I know. My bumper music isn't quite as cool. But congrats to Tanner Kemna on winning the sign. We'll get that to you here real soon. Did I tell you I found this awesome neon sign that I wish I could buy, but it's way too much money? Did I tell you about this?
You said a little something about it yesterday.
It's the Monopoly Man, and he's got devil horns.
Oh, I missed the devil horns.
The devil horn, when you turn the light, well, you don't see the horns until you turn the light on, and then like a pitchfork comes out too.
Oh, that's funny.
But it's got he's like money bags and there's cash flying out everywhere, and it's got he's got machine guns. And he's shooting machine guns firing off blazing and the neon lights are like blasting it up. I'm going to pull it up while we're talking about this one so I can show the audience. But the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson is now, I guess, in our 4th week.
That's wild.
Yeah. I'm gonna.
So that means we're almost in October here. I was griping about October earlier. We're not there yet.
Yeah, earlier, she came in today and was like, "Boy, October is really just not treating me well." I'm like, "Well, okay, well that's good, I guess, because it's still
September.
It's still September." Yeah, I'm looking for it on online. I'm trying to find the Monopoly Man sign. Oh no, I can't find it. It is really cool though. So that's. Go ahead, Camellia.
Filthy capitalist.
It's something like that. Monopoly Man, guns, devil, neon sign. It's just not gonna come up for me. It was on one of those sites that you get from Facebook ads and stuff, and so yeah. It's Monopoly Man, but still, we got to find something to replace it with. So if you have any suggestions, send us a text 573-319-1586. John Rail says he misses John. He was a good dude. Yeah, John was a good dude, and but I mean, he's still on the air.
Yeah,
just competing with me.
Well,
one listener texted in and said, "Son of a bitch! Can't believe Tanner won that. I'm gonna fight him for it." That's another 573 this morning sending in the text. That must be Mr. Vanderfelt's. Good morning, Mr. Vanderfelt's. Another listener texted, well, you get to enjoy it because I bet you he'll put it up in the shop. One listener texted in and said, no comparison. It was dull, the old show, because it was mainstream media. No one's fault but the FCC's. John was good, but he's no Robin Quivers. Who is Robin Quivers?
I have no idea, but the thing is that FCC, like, people didn't know all the stuff John was doing behind the scenes.
Oh, dude. I can say now, but I mean, like, he was making like all those kinds of things. Like, he was, I mean, John, people think that John is like this goody or whatever because he,
Mr. Reserve.
he's straight man on the radio.
Yeah.
But the fact is that John is actually, I won't say a lewd dude, but he's
Sorry, John.
sometimes a crude dude.
I love John.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody texted in and said, I need to make a Washington Buddha bong kit.
Gosh.
I don't know if I want to go in there and make bongs. One listener texted in and said, Robin is Howard Stern's sidekick. Oh, okay. That's what it is. Robin, you're kind of like my sidekick on the show. Yeah, which I wish, it's great when you're in studio, Camellia, and we have a lot of fun. So I'm glad that you could come in here today. We appreciate it.
Yeah, me too.
It's been a lot of fun. So I guess we got to go, though, because it's the end of the show.
It's over?
We're pretty much done. Yeah, this is it.
Sad.
I know. So what are we doing this weekend?
We're going to go to Oktoberfest in Herman.
Yeah, we're going to drink
beer.
Drink beer. Yeah, I'm so excited. We're going to have so much fun. We're going to eat the pretzels with the cheese and drink many beers. Bratwurst. If anyone wants to join us in Herman, it's an open invitation. Yeah, anybody can come. We're going to go there right around like 2 to 4 p.m.-ish somewhere.
I have no idea.
Sometime in the afternoon. She has no clue. That's what she was saying earlier. She's like, what's going on? I don't know what's going on with Herman tomorrow. I'm just like, we're just going to go and drink beer, and you're going to wear a dirndl, and I'm going to wear a lederhosen.
Oh, so come.
Yeah, so you should come. Doug Hill, John Rail, Tolly Owens, Cecilia Harden, Chris Morrill, all of our friends at the Cantina crew, we give you a big shout out.
Love you guys.
Caleb Vanderfelt, Tanner Kemna, Edie Vogel. Start throwing out people who are a part of our community, Camellia, before I go.
Did you put Jamie Marie in there?
Jamie Marie Pope?
God. Where is she?
Where is Jamie Marie Pope? Matt Unruh?
Yes.
Who else?
Doug, did you ever say Doug?
I said Doug.
You said Chris Morrill, right?
I said Chris Morrill. We got a Chris Morrill. We got a Chris Morrill. Who else?
Oh man, you're relying on my memory. That's always a bad thing.
That's not nice. We've got new friends over at Rumble. We've got new friends over on Twitch.
I'm gonna have to get on Rumble
and on YouTube. We're almost halfway to monetization on YouTube. We don't almost have 2,000 hours. We need 4,000 hours of views on YouTube in order to get monetized. And we're at like 1,500. It's hard.
So the more people that subscribe and watch it, that counts towards more hours.
Yeah. So like, people, if you watch the show on YouTube, put it on play.
All right. Yeah.
2 hours, back to back, computer you're not using. But definitely watch the show because
Repetition.
Yeah, exactly. Because I can't say don't watch it. Yes, watch it, obviously, but watch it. Edie Vogel, we appreciate you very much. How do you say goodbye to your hosen? Later, hosen. We gotta go. It's been a great weekend. Thank you for watching the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com, a show fully supported by freedom fighters like you. Everybody give Camellia Peterson a big applause. And we'll say goodbye on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. See you later.
It's morning again in America. Our country is prouder and stronger and better.
I like shooting things, but whenever I can't shoot something, I like to cut things. My life isn't all about shooting and stabbing and cutting, though. Sometimes I have to do actual work, but when I work, I still like to have fun. And there's nothing less fun than trying to cut with a crappy knife. Thankfully, from the ancient sect of Christian knights, who also loved cutting and stabbing, comes a new implement that has received my personal blessing, the Templar knife. Like the ancient sword of Excalibur, you don't choose a Templar knife, it chooses you. You just decide what kind you want on the website first, however, and then order it online, and then it chooses you. The Templar knife comes in a variety of shapes,
shapes. As a man of culture and taste, I have decided I will never use a terrible knife again. And thanks to the inspiration provided by this excellent product, I have decided to launch a new crusade against anyone using less than superior knives. Join me, brothers and sisters, by visiting uppercuttactical.com/pages/Templar-knives. That's a lot of slashes. For that, you'll need a Templar knife. For 10% off, use code AP for Liberty and join me in a quest for glory, for liberty, for Christendom, for the Templar knife. Get yours today.
Fire.
Your printing company stinks. They charge you too much money and they don't love America enough. We've got the solution. Patriot Printing USA. Whether you're running for office, saving souls, or just need business cards that will get you the new job you've been looking for, Patriot Printing USA has got you covered with the best prices around. Palm cards, brochures, bumper stickers, door hangers, you name it, we've got it. PatriotPrintingUSA.com. That's PatriotPrintingUSA.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
Average Americans are turning into conspiracy theorists at an unprecedented rate. Flip City Magazine was created for new converts to aid in their in-depth research along the path of absolute truth. We offer the hardest-hitting news and opinion, delivered uncensored in print directly to your door. Display proudly on your coffee table, or hide discreetly under your mattress. Flip City is the magazine they don't want you to see, much less read. Subscribe to Flip City Magazine today at flipcitymag.com.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
It is better to settle these matters in the courts than on the streets, and new laws are needed at every level. But law alone cannot make men see right.